Yo, what is up? It is your boy Zether back at it again with a brand new part to What If Deku had Midas' golden touch. Now, on the last part, I had said that if this series did pretty well and it got a lot of likes, that I would be continuing this series forward. And you guys smashed 1K likes. You guys are just insane. So for this part, if you guys are going to be... So, actually, no, I said I wouldn't even be doing like those. You guys are just going to get the end to this series on the next part, or the next two parts will most likely be the end to it. These are going to be like pretty long parts after this. So, yeah, with that being said, guys, you guys did your part, and now I'm going to do mine. So, yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this amazing recap, and then into this great story. So, let's get started. Okay, so basically what we had gone over on the last part was Deku getting his quirk as a kid. Now, he had accidentally turned Bakugo's dog, Lord Explosion Murder, into what's it called? What is it called again? Into gold. Yeah, sorry. Into gold. And pretty much, Deku had done that by accident. And this is when Bakugo and Deku's friendship would pretty much end. Afterwards, we had a little bit of exploiting of Deku done by Hisashi and Inko. And then we had basically gone over how Deku had ended up training his quirk for the following next years. That he had ended up perfecting it, and now he has a plethora of moves that he can use whenever he's fighting things. We had also gone over the entrance exams with Deku pretty much meeting Uraraka and getting her number at the end of it after saving her. And we had basically left off with Deku arriving home. So we're going to go ahead and pick right up off where we left off, and we're just going to go ahead and get started. So, yeah, let's go, boys. Alright, so this is when Deku would pretty much proceed to arrive home, as he would then look at his phone, as he would then, just see that number that he wrote down on his phone, as he would give it a call. He would type down the number and call, and Uraraka would answer. She'd be like, "Oh, hey, is this the boy from the entrance exams?" As Deku would just pick up and say, "Yeah, it is. So you got my number. So, hey, how you doing?" She would say, "Oh my god, well, honestly, I didn't think you would call me, but I'm doing great now that you called." As Deku would say, "Oh, that's amazing." As she would say, "Yeah, thank you so much for saving me back there. It was amazing what your quirk was able to do. You can make things gold. That's awesome." As Deku would just say, "Yeah, it's pretty cool." As, Uraraka would be like, "Yeah, you think there's any way we could actually hang out one of these days? Maybe I could thank you for, saving me that other day." As Deku would say, "Oh, you want to hang out?" As Uraraka would say, "Yeah, it'd be so much fun. We could go to the park or something and just hang out there." As Deku would say, "Okay, you're on. I'll meet you at the park tomorrow." As Uraraka would say, "Great, I'll meet you there." As Deku would hang up the phone, and this is when Uraraka would just be blushing by her side. She would say, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I'm gonna meet that boy." As Deku would just, be chuckling to himself, thinking that this is gonna be great, his first ever date. As he would proceed to pretty much just be happy. And the very next day, this is when we're just gonna say that the very next day, Deku would pretty much just get a really chill outfit going. Let's say let's go with the pretty fire outfits that I rock. He's gonna be wearing some white Air Forces. He's gonna be wearing some gray some comfy shorts, some gray comfy shorts, and a white shirt. And Deku's just gonna pull up like that. As Uraraka would come in wearing whatever you guys think a girl would wear. And I'm not really good at girl fashion, but yeah. As, Deku would proceed to pretty much see her over there as he's waving to her, and she's like, "Oh, there you are." As Deku and Uraraka would pretty much just hang out a little bit. As pretty much Deku and Uraraka would get to know each other a little bit, talking about why they want to become heroes. As Uraraka would actually go up to Deku and tell him that, she wants to become a hero because not exactly the most noble reason in the world, but, she wants to become a hero so that she can help her parents out with their money, so that they won't ever have to work again. As Deku would say, "What? Are you kidding? That's one of the most noble reasons I know. It's such a selfless reason. You're doing it for them." As Uraraka would smile and blush a little bit, saying, "Yeah, but I guess your reason's probably better." As Deku would say, "I want to become a hero because I want to be just like All Might. I want to save people with a smile on my face, and I want to bring hope and peace to this world." As Uraraka would hear Deku talking about his aspirations of becoming a hero, and she would honestly find that extremely attractive, seeing that Deku just knows what he's gonna do, seeing that Deku has his goals all set out for himself, and just seeing what Deku has to offer already, she would think that it's just amazing. As Deku and Uraraka would pretty much just be hanging out, as this is when a little kid would pretty much start picking on the other on another kid, and it's like one kid is actually defending the little kid that's getting picked on, as he says that they need to stop it because it's mean. As Deku would just kind of get a little bit of a flashback to one time that, you know, he was actually getting picked on and Bakugo came in and saved him. As in this version, remember, Bakugo likes Deku, and after he got his quirk, Bakugo was able to defend Izuku from a certain thing. As, you know, Deku was getting picked on and Bakugo came in, as Deku would just have that little flashback end, as he would rush over there and say, hey, how about you leave this kid alone? As the little kid would just be like, why don't you butt out, mister, or else I'm gonna have to kick your butt too. As Deku would just chuckle and say, okay. As Deku would say, how about this? I give you some gold and you leave him alone. As the kid would say, what, gold? As Deku would say, yeah, how about it, kid? As the little kid would just be like, you're on, mister. Give me the thing and I'll leave him alone forever. I promise. As Deku would say, okay. And Deku would then, you know, go over to a little, like a bush and grab a bunch of leaves off of it, as he would then say, golden touch. As he would touch the leaves and it would all turn into solid gold. As he would say, here you go. As the kid would just be like, whoa, this is for me? As Deku would say, yeah, all for you. As he would get the heck out of there and that kid would just be like, I'm rich. As he would run home to his parents and his parents would take the money from him, sadly. But, you know, at least they're happy with him, I guess. But anyways, this is when Deku would proceed to essentially just pretty much go up to the little kid who was on the ground, as he would tell him, hey, so how are you feeling? Are you okay? As the kid would say, yeah, I'm fine. As Deku would say, well, that's great to hear. As, you know, he would then look towards him and say, hey, do you want some of that too? As he would say, yes, please. As he would say, my family doesn't have too much money, and that's why he was picking on me. As Deku would say, oh, really? As he would say, how about I change that for you? How about I change everything for you? As the kid would look up at Deku and say, huh? As Deku would ask Uraraka if she's willing to go to the kid's house for a little bit. As Uraraka would say, yeah, totally. As Deku would pretty much grab the kid and ask him to take him to his mom or his house if it's close by. As the kid would just say, okay, mister. As pretty much he would take Deku to his house. As Deku would knock on the door and his parents would answer saying, hey, what's going on? As this is when, you know, Deku would pretty much just tell them what happened in the park, how he saved their kid, and how his kid told them about their little situation. As Deku would say that if they want, he could actually help them out with their money. As they would say, what can you do for us? As Deku would say, I can do this. As Deku would go inside the house and touch a plant, as the entire thing would turn into gold. And they would just drop their mouths wide open, as Deku would say, yep. And there's a lot more where that came from. As they would say, can you please do more? As Deku would just smile and say, of course. As Deku would run around the house and just make everything gold. Everything that they had in the house, he would just turn it all into gold. As that family would be able to actually sell all of those items and and actually be financially stable after years of struggling with the kid. As Deku would pretty much just be happy for himself, and Uraraka would be watching that, being like, just thinking, can you do that for me? As Deku would look towards Uraraka, and, you know, he wouldn't say anything about it. He would just kind of be planning to do the same thing for Uraraka, but on a much bigger scale, since, I mean, that is his friend now, and he wants to do something nice for her. I mean, it doesn't really cost him anything to do it. As Deku would just ask Uraraka if she wants to go get a bite to eat. As she would say, of course, and Deku actually doesn't carry any money. What Deku does is gonna be told right now. As Uraraka would say, yeah, she's obviously down. As she usually just eats cup noodles because, you know, that's what we saw in the anime. As, you know, Deku would just, you know, when the bill come, and after they had a pretty good time, Deku would just touch the piece of paper that had the bill on it, as he would say, I believe this should cover it. As the guy would just be like, we don't have change for this, sir. As Deku would say, keep the change. As he would walk out of there, and that place would just be astounded. I mean, they got a piece of gold instead of money, but, I mean, they'll take it. Sheesh, more to them, I guess. As Deku would just leave out of there. As, you know, this is when Deku would drop Uraraka off at her house, as she would thank Deku for everything. And this is when Deku would say bye. As Deku would pretty much just go around and, you know, just be helping out a little bit. As this is when Deku would arrive home, and as he does, he would actually get the acceptance letter from UA. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm not about to bore you guys with the details of, how many points he got. Just remember the amount of points that he got in the last part. They tell him that he got some pretty cool rescue points, and they tell him that they're gonna be having him in the UA Academia, all that stuff. The same stuff that All Might did. And yeah, it's pretty like it goes as it would in canon, pretty much. So nothing really here to explain. So yeah, now this is when we're gonna go ahead and skip on over to the day of the first day in UA. As Deku would be getting his clothes together, and his mom would ask him, "Hey Zuko, do you want to take the limo?" As Deku would say, "No, I'm good with just the train." And she would say, "Really? You've been taking the train an awful lot lately. What's going on? Do you not like living like this?" As Deku would say, "No. I just don't want to, pull up there like that." As she would say, "I understand." And she would say, "How about this? I'll take you to school." As Deku would say, "Really?" And she would say, "Yeah, I don't really got anything to do right now." As Deku would just smile and say that's great. As his mom would pretty much just get their normal car that they had before they even moved here. As this is when Inko would proceed to tell Deku about how he was born. As she would say, "Yeah, a couple years ago, this is where me and your dad had you." As Deku would look at her and say, "Mom, I don't want to hear that." As Inko would say, "Yeah, actually on that same seat that you're sitting on." As Deku would just kind of have chills on his body and say, "Oh, ah." As he just like, "Oh, this is not okay." As Deku would just, as Inko would just start laughing uncontrollably and say, I'm kidding." As Deku would say, "You scared me for a second." And Inko would then say it was in the backseat. As Deku would say, "What are you talking?" As he would just be freaking out, like, what do you mean?" As Inko would just start chuckling to herself incredibly loud. As she would drop Deku off and tell him that she loves him, yada yada yada, normal mom stuff. As Deku would say that, yeah, that's fine. As he'd pretty much just go inside. As this is when Deku would pretty much just go into UA. As soon as he walks in to the door, all of the girls in UA would actually stare at Deku. As golden hair and golden eyes, come on now, you guys know that if somebody walked in real life like that, y'all would stare. And Deku's not exactly on the bad looking side, since he's really lean and fit. So Deku would pretty much walk inside, and this is when they would ask him, "Yo," as Mina would actually walk up to Deku and ask him if he's single or if he's seeing anybody, what his quirk is. And Suyu would hop on into that action as well, as she would walk up to Deku and say, "Ribbit, what's your name?" As Deku would just proceed to be talking to the bunch of girls. As Kaminari would come up to him and grab his hair, he would say, "Yo, dude, your hair's awesome. Golden hair? I've never seen anything like it." As Deku would just, grab the back of his head and say, "Yeah." And this is when Uraraka would walk inside, and you guys know how she gets jealous in the original canon? That is essentially what would happen. As she would see all the girls and all the guys in UA just kind of like messing with him, as Zeta would walk up to him and say, "Wow, I saw what you did in the entrance exam. I have to say, you're a much superior student to me." As Deku would pretty much just laugh to himself, as he would say that he was just doing the right thing. As this is when Aizawa would actually get up and say, "If you're here to make friends, I suggest you get out of here." As he would then look towards Deku and say, "And you, stop causing such a ruckus." As Deku would say, "Yeah, sorry, sir." As this is when Aizawa would pretty much say, "All right, now put these on and meet me outside in the training land." As Deku would just be like, "All right," and he would get up and go do exactly what Aizawa said. As Aizawa would look at the rest of the class and tell them, "Well, you gonna go, or do you need me to hold your hands through it?" As they would say, "Oh, sorry, sir, we're going." As they would all go along with Deku. As they would all just be like, "Yo," like the guys would just be in the fitting room asking Deku what he does. As Deku would honestly just be getting so much attention right now, and all of the girls in 1A would pretty much just be talking about Deku in the changing rooms. As this is when they would ask Uraraka what she thought about him. As she would say, "Oh, Izuku?" As they would say, "You know him?" As she would say, "Yeah, he's kind of mine." As the rest of the girls would say, What?" As she would say, "Yeah, he's mine." As they would just be like, "Oh, so that's your man." As this is when Uraraka would just start laughing, and they would all just be like, just pushing her a little bit by the elbow, just be like, I see you, you got the best one here, didn't you?" As Uraraka would just start blushing and floating in the air, as the rest of the girls would just be laughing for her, saying that that's great for her. As they would pretty much proceed to back off for now. until a little bit later when they see his quirk. Anyways, and this is when for the rest of the quirk exam, Deku would pretty much do average scores since, I mean, his quirk isn't necessary. I mean, I guess his hardening mode can actually help him crush the grip shrink test, and in terms of his speed, he can use ice liquid to slide through it, kind of like Mina does with her acid. As soon as Deku gets the ball thrown to him for getting the max amount of points, he gets a pretty, like, he gets like a score that you would get if you had an enhancement quirk is what he gets. He gets what you think that like somebody like Stain would get pretty much. As he would get about 300 meters. Not bad, but also not amazing. Actually, no, let's go with 200, Raw physical strength. That's 300 was way too much. Let's go with 200 meters, right? And this is when, pretty much, 200 meters. And Deku would proceed to, 200 meters is fine. Yeah, 200 meters is fine. Now, this is when the rest of the test would happen, and Uraraka would get her normal infinity, as Deku would say that her quirk is amazing. She just touches things and turns off the gravity. It's awesome. It kind of reminds him of his quirk. They both have some pretty interesting quirks that require them to touch something. And so Uraraka would say, yeah, you think so? As Deku would say, of course, your quirk is amazing. As Uraraka would start blushing a little bit, as Deku would say, you okay? And she'd say, yeah, I'm fine. As Deku would say, good, just, you looked a little pale there for a second. As she would say, oh, I did, sorry. As Deku would just be like, yeah, okay. As he would proceed to do the rest of the tests in terms of like whatever in the race and all that stuff. And Deku would get some pretty, above average scores. The scores that you would believe Aizawa would get. Somebody like Aizawa would get. As, it's pretty cool when, Deku arrives and all that stuff. So, yeah, this is when all that stuff ends. And by the time that it ends, everybody realizes what Deku's quirk is. He can turn things into gold? He's a freaking landmine, honestly. Come on now. As the rest of the girls who had said that they would back off of Deku, like Mina and all the ones who aren't rich other than Momo, would pretty much just get on Deku again. As they would be like, so, you got a girlfriend? As Deku would just be realizing what's going on right here. As all of the girls would pretty much just want Deku all over again. As they're like, sorry, Uraraka, but, this is a little bit of a gold mine. I mean, I won't have to even become a hero if I can land this guy. As they would all pretty much be trying to get with Deku. As Deku would realize what's going on, and he would just be like, yeah, I kind of do have a girlfriend. As at this point, Uraraka was red in the face, and she was fuming. As Deku would say, I actually do. As they would say, oh, really? Who? As Deku would say, she's standing over there. As Uraraka would just start floating in the air like she does in canon. And she'd be like, no! As Deku would pretty much just be laughing to himself. As Bakugo would shrug Deku on his shoulder saying, so I see you already got yourself a little girl. How'd that happen? As he would say, did you bribe her? As Deku would say, no, nothing like that. I saved her in the entrance exam and we just hit it off. As Bakugo would say, sounds like something you would do. As, this is when Deku would start chuckling to himself. As Bakugo and Deku would just be talking amongst themselves for a bit. And this is when the quirk assessment would pretty much end. As this is when all of the people would pretty much be told to go home. As this is when Mina would pretty much be following Deku. As she would say, so you got any plans after school? As, Mina's pretty much heavily trying to get at Deku. As Deku would say, yeah, I actually do. I'm gonna go hang out with Bakugo. As Bakugo and Deku would actually made some plans, as he would say that Bakugo's right over there. As Mina would be like, I almost got him. As she would say, wait, don't you want to wait a little longer? I mean, you can have some fun with me first. As Deku would say, no, I'm okay. I don't really want to study right now. As this is normal studying, by the way, normal, not my type of studying, not that type, but and this is when Deku would pretty much proceed to just be chilling. Honestly, you just be chilling, and he would go hang out with Bakugo, play a little bit of video games like they would when in the good old days. As Lord Explosion Murder would pretty much run at Deku as he would jump on top of him and just kind of cuddle up on top of Deku. As Deku would ruffle its hair and say, well, I'm glad I was able to help this guy. As Bakugo would say, yeah, never thought I'd actually see him, alive again. As Deku would say, yeah, sorry about that. As Bakugo would say, nah, it's cool. I got over it. I kind of understood that it wasn't your fault after, recently you return him to normal dog. As Deku would say, yeah, can we like talk about something else? Bakugo would say, yeah, don't worry about it. This is when Deku and Bakugo would proceed to just play video games and end the day off on a good note. As Deku would pretty much just have his butler. Yes, he has a butler, Alfred. Just kidding, it's not Alfred, but he's pretty rich. He might as well be a billionaire, as he could be, even if he could honestly just turn everything into gold and just make Japan the richest thing in the world. I think I just thought of a pretty good arc in the future. Anyways, this is when Deku would pretty much proceed to just be chilling at Bakugo's, as the very next day would arrive. And this is when we're actually going to be having the heroes versus villains thing, when the rest of the day would pretty much go by pretty boringly, honestly, as this is when Deku would pretty much walk outside with his hero costume after All Might did as usual. You got to dress like a hero, I am here, all that stuff. We don't really care about all that. As Deku would walk outside with a Greek god looking costume. He would have something that you would think Zeus would wear, like something like in the ancient times. As Deku would walk outside dripping. I mean, the girls would look at him, and since Deku's in a peak physical shape, he looks really dang good in it. As it looks like something a god would wear, as Deku would just be dripping. I'm not gonna lie, it's like covered in gold and everything. And he has like 2 pieces of like things on his ears that are like kind of like, I don't know how to describe the suit, but let's just say that it's something that looks like a Greek god would wear it. And that thing that Zeus wears, like the plant on his head, like the crown of leaves, the green crown that he wears, it would pretty much be golden. As Deku, he'd be dripping. He'd be dripping. As the girls would just say, is that real gold? Everybody but Momo, since Momo's like, yeah, I mean, he's rich, but is he as rich as me? Oh, you have no idea. He could be a million times richer than you if he wanted to. All he'd have to do is start touching the ground, turning everything to gold, and selling it for the highest bidding. Come on now. Sheesh. Anyways, this is when we're now going to talk about the teams, as it would actually be the original teams as in canon. That being, actually not. I'm going to say it. Yeah, the same teams as in canon. It would be Bakugo and Ida versus Uraraka and Deku. As Deku would be getting ready downstairs, and this time there'd be no little fated rival battle, so Uraraka wouldn't be half as pumped as she was in the original, but she would just be extremely happy that she got put on a team with Izuku. I mean, that's the little cool kid of the class at the moment. As Deku would look towards Bakugo and give him a thumbs up before they even start, telling him to go all out and not to hold back any punches. As Bakugo would tell Deku to do the same. As this is when Deku would pretty much look towards Bakugo and say, I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah. As now we're actually going to be jumping on over to, should I do it like that? I guess I could end off soon after this. Yeah, I guess I'll end off after this. Anyways, as this is when Deku and Uraraka would pretty much walk inside the building. As Deku would tell Uraraka that, he feels like Bakugo is going to come after him, so if she can't. So here's the plan. As he would tell her that he's going to pretty much turn Bakugo into gold if he touches the ground. And if he doesn't, and if he stays in the air, or actually, no. That plan's dumb. I was thinking of something stupid. Anyway, here's the new plan. Retcon that. As Deku would tell Uraraka to run off somewhere, he says that he's going to basically take care of Bakugo. As she says, all by yourself? As Deku would say, yeah, I got it. As Deku would, hear Bakugo coming in with his explosions, as he knew that Bakugo was going to try to come after him first. As Bakugo would rush towards Deku, telling him, come on, Deku, let's brawl out. As Deku would chuckle and turn himself into a hardened gold state. As Deku would say, alright, Bakugo, as he would rush towards Bakugo and punch Bakugo straight in the face, sending him flying towards the wall and crashing into the next room as Deku would say to Uraraka to go find the bomb room and call him when she's ready. As Uraraka would say, right, as she would rush off to find Ida, and this is when Deku would proceed to get into a pretty cool fist fight with Bakugo. That Bakugo's on the losing end most of the time, since Deku has about, Stain's pretty much physical capabilities and fighting combat skills. He's at that level, but just a little higher in terms of hand-to-hand combat. Stain would completely outclass him in terms of like golden weapons and stuff like that. And this is when Deku would say, how about a little extra fun? As Deku would, create 2 golden staffs. As this is when Deku would pretty much proceed to throw one at Bakugo. As, Bakugo would say, huh? As Deku would say, come on, Bakugo, let's have a little bit of a bow staff fight. As Bakugo would just say, you're on, Deku. As this is when Deku would pretty much rush towards Bakugo, and they would proceed to have a pretty good battle until Uraraka would say, I found the bomb room. As Deku would just smile under his little costume thing. Or no, he would smile and Bakugo would see it as he would say, what's so funny, Deku? As Deku would say, Golden Domain. As yes, that's the move that I ended up picking from the comment section. I thought that it was pretty awesome. Oh, my mic fell. Hopefully the recording didn't stop. No, it didn't stop. Okay, good. And this is when, Bakugo and Deku would pretty much go into each other. As Deku would say, Golden Domain. As he would put his foot on the ground, as the entirety of the first floor would turn into gold. As Bakugo would be turned into gold and he would fall down like a statue. As Deku would rush straight to where Uraraka's at, as he would tell her that this is going to be perfect. As this is when Deku would touch the ground and turn that floor into gold. As this is when Ida would pretty much be turned into gold in the process, as well as the bomb. As Deku would run up to the bomb and tell Uraraka to go touch it herself. As Uraraka would say, what? But it's gold. Does it even count? As Deku would say, oh, yeah, right. As he would go over there to the bomb and tap it. As it would turn away from gold and Uraraka would touch the bomb quickly. As Deku would turn Ida and Bakugo back into human beings. As this is when Deku would say that ask All Might if he wants him to turn the room back into gold, or if he should leave it like that and Yue could just make some money off of that. As All Might would say, you can do that? As Deku would say, yeah, I guess I could. As All Might would say, go ahead and leave it how it is. And young Midoriya, I would like to have a pretty cool chat with you after class, if I may. As Deku would say, oh, okay, I understand. As, this is when this is when All Might would pretty much call him after all the classes. He would tell him that if he really can turn things into gold permanently and like they can be sold. As, this is when Deku would say, oh, yeah, of course I can. As All Might would say, so you're able to turn things into gold and reverse it back to how it was? As Deku would say, I suppose so. As this is when All Might would pretty much tell Deku to turn him into gold and turn him back. As this is when Deku would say, alright, All Might. As this is when Deku would touch All Might right, like pretty much just grab All Might's like by the shoulder. So he would turn him into gold and All Might would be turned like that. As Deku would then say, alright, I guess it's time to turn him back. As he would tap him and All Might would come back restored. Feeling in great shape, as All Might would just stretch out a little bit and grab his side as he doesn't even feel the injury anymore. As All Might would ask him as All Might would say, kid, you healed me. As Deku would say, what are you talking about? As All Might would explain to Deku that he once had an injury on his side that pretty much plagued his hero work. As Deku would, be informed that his ability to turn things into gold and, turn them back, he can heal things when he turns them into gold. That must have been why that dog was able to be brought back just normal and even better. As Deku would have actually pretty much figured this out now. As this is when Deku would have realized that he has the ability to heal things by turning them to gold and reversing the effects. And now he's actually going to be having to train on that and learn how to not reverse the effects and how to reverse the effects. Pretty much like if he turns something into gold, he can pretty much decide whether it gets healed while it's gold or whether it just, stays damaged. So like, let's say he's fighting a villain. Obviously he's not going to turn them into gold. And then when he takes them out, they're going to be 100%. That's not how it works. Since if it did, it'd be a pretty bad problem for Deku, especially in the USJ fighting the Nomu. Imagine Deku turns him into gold and turns him off, and the Nomu just 100% sends him flying into the wall. GG, that's the end of the story. Oof. Yup, we can't have that. As, this is when Deku would pretty much walk out of All Might's office, as All Might would pretty much just thank Deku for what he did. He would tell Deku that he has no idea what he just did for him, as All Might would just be thinking to himself that he wishes he turned him into his successor. As Deku would pretty much just be informed of One for All and what it is. As Deku would say that he's of course going to keep the secret. As this is when Deku would pretty much walk home. As this is actually where we're going to be leaving it off, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And one more thing, another little announcement video, like a channel update, is going to be posted today. So if you guys see it, please go ahead and click on the video, since it is going to hold some pretty important information. regarding my upload schedule and why I've been gone. But with that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this part. It's your boy Zether, and I am out.